You all know how it works with the modern BBC now. If you're invited on, it's to parrot the liberal message. And if you're not invited on for that reason, it's to be booed and demeaned as a pantomime villain. So when Johnny Rotten, also known as John Lydon, comes on, it sparks a bit of difficulty for the BBC. Because he's beloved in the public consciousness, he also starts talking out about the topics that you're not supposed to talk about.
Britain today is so catastrophically disappointing. A lot of this tour that I'm doing will be in seaside towns. And I mean, they really indicate how run down Britain has become. Those used to be fantastic places when I was a kid. Mum and Dad would drag us off there for what felt like hours in a traffic jam. But it was absolutely great. It was working class people throwing sand at each other.
Yeah.
It's excellent. And the environment was economically thriving, I suppose, in the seaside towns. Everybody wanted a kiss me quick hat. It was vibrant.
And it's not
like
so vibrant now, is it? No.
No, it seems to be full of what they term prospective immigrants, which are really like illegals, not being cared for properly, but then shouldn't have been accepted in such vast numbers because it's created a real animosity in communities. The division, when you import so many people with a completely different point of view, they're not going to adapt to yours. They're going to stay and bring the problems that they're allegedly escaping from.
Listening to this in real time with someone like Johnny Rotten makes you ask the question, what is it to be punk these days? Or at least what does it mean to be countercultural? In the 70s and 80s, maybe to be punk meant to be against the capitalist system, perhaps, just some dropout who was anti everything mainstream. But at the moment, liberal views are mainstream, as evidenced by institutions like the BBC. And this is why establishment foot soldiers like Andrew Marr come back with this typical response.
John, what is the difference? Because after all, if I could put it this way, we imported the Lydons. We imported your lot from Ireland as well. You were part of, the Irish migrant group in North London.
This is why Marr and the rest of the liberal elite want us to think that immigration from Africa and the Middle East in the millions is no different from immigration from Ireland over the 20th century in the tens of thousands, despite the Irish living right next door to us and having a long history together, as well as being Europeans and Christians. Yet credit to Lydon in his response.
And the first thing my mum and dad ever would tell me when I was very young is, "You're British now, be British and be proud of it."
Yeah.
Most excellent advice, and I followed through.
Now this, of course, is what the vast majority of British actually want. If people are going to come here, at least work at fitting in, at becoming a unified country, rather than all these split hovels in which people are increasingly distant. And of course it begs the question, are all these new arrivals in their millions British? Can they ever assimilate in these crazy numbers that they're coming? Or maybe more importantly, was the intention ever for them to assimilate at all, or to simply break apart the unifying structure within Britain itself? Even asking these questions can get you in trouble these days, yet we already know from Tony Blair's apparatchik Andrew Nether that the intention of mass migration when it started with the New Labour Party was to quote-unquote rub the right's nose in diversity and render their arguments obsolete. Well, that has now been completely carried through, and despite the liberal establishment getting it all their way, they don't want to just be the establishment, they also want to maintain the idea that they're the counterculture as well. But of course they're not. Even Johnny Rotten really isn't the counterculture anymore. The counterculture now exists in anyone who wants England or Britain to survive.